Welcome to the Healthy Perspective Podcast with your host, chiropractor, entrepreneur, mentor, and author, Dr. Chris Bowman. He'll break down and extract the secret sauce behind his own success and the success of some of the top leaders in every category and from around the world. Get ready for your weekly mental adjustment because shift is going to happen.
Welcome to another episode of the Healthy Perspective Podcast. Today is going to be Spitfire. I promise you that. We have the blessing and honor to have Dr. Stephen Franson on with us of the Remarkable Practice, amongst other things. He is a dear friend of mine. I coached with him one-on-one for a year and took my practice to areas that I never would have gone. Helped me think in ways that, I would still be quote unquote stuck in the best job ever, but wouldn't be thinking like a CEO, really wouldn't be in the position that I am today to have the financial freedom and time freedom without the mindset coaching and systems coaching that I did with Dr. Franson. And so I know whether you're a chiropractor, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a mom, talking with Dr. Franson today is going to impact your life in ways that are going to go beyond what you can implement now, because he gives so much information that it's kind of a scaled, delayed a drip of implementation. And so, Dr. Franson, thank you so much for joining us.
Man, no pressure after that introduction, Dr. Chris. It's really my pleasure, man. I appreciate you asking me to join you.
Yeah, awesome. So we first got connected. Actually, I don't even know if you know this, but I went to a chiropractic school where they didn't teach you business. They didn't teach you philosophy. They really didn't teach you the stuff that you need to know to become a happy, successful, entrepreneurial chiropractor, but really just to be a safe clinician. And in that group, somebody was coaching with you. I don't remember who it was, and posted you were doing some event or some sort of special. I think it was mainly the online courses that you had just launched. And so I reached out, I joined that. And then as you know, I learned more about you and your systems and recognized that I couldn't implement on my own. We developed into one-on-one coaching, and I was with you when you launched your Remarkable CEO and with Pete and all of that stuff. And so it's cool to come around full circle and now, be interviewing you and from an entrepreneurial, aspiration that I've
Just
been
awesome.
doing. So yeah, so it's cool. Well, why don't we just start from the beginning? Chiropractic obviously is a place that I always like to start with my chiropractors. How did you kind of get launched into that profession, that calling, and how did things just continue to scale for you? What were some people that influenced you? What were some like highlight aha moments that just kind of scaled you up and up and up in your mindset?
Yeah, so there were certainly a handful of inflections on the journey. One of them was very early on that really sort of turned me on and tuned me up to what I now understand to be the wellness lifestyle and the inside-out perspective or paradigm. I know we're going to be talking about perspective here today, which I was excited to see that that's the direction we're headed in, because I think perspective is everything. But to start on a bit of a somber note that has a very happy ending, one of my best friends died of cancer when I was 11, and it was a long and really awful experience to walk your best friend through the treatment and the dying process at that age. But in retrospect, it was an incredible blessing, as it tweaked me. It didn't just shape me, it tweaked me. And it made me the man I am today. It shaped me into the person that's been fascinated by what it takes to be a healthy and strong human being my entire life. So I was always fascinated with what can you do to make people stronger, and really from an early age, just did everything I could to learn everything about what it means to be a healthy human being. What do you need to start doing and stop doing? And then I realized that I really enjoyed coaching people. I really enjoyed training people. And I really think that had a big part to do with my success as a chiropractor. Was I'm really coaching people. When I look at chiropractic as a lifestyle success strategy for healthy human beings, it's not just limited to a short-term treatment modality for a crisis, but rather to teach people how to change their health trajectory, for their life, for them and for their families. So they're not just getting better health outcomes, they're having a better health experience. So that all started way back when I lost Patrick. But it put me on a course that has taken me to some extraordinary places. And I look back and I've just had the ultimate remarkable journey. measured by the opportunity to impact so many lives. So I'd say that was probably the big first major inflection point, if you will.
Yeah. And now, people are going to be like, how does chiropractic connect with cancer? I know you talk about like the wellness lifestyle and whatnot. What is it about chiropractic that was kind of unique from just a nutritionist or just, like one of those roles that people might connect more with, like, a cancer sort of diagnosis? Where did chiropractic come into play?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the perspective that I bring to it is I spent that 20 years trying to figure out what do healthy human beings do. And I
Hmm.
learned, about the wellness lifestyle, everything from how we choose to eat and how we choose to move and how we choose to think, the strategies of the most successful healthy human beings in the world. And out of all of the things that I learned in any direction I could have taken my life and my career, what I learned about how the body really works and how the body really heals. And when I learned about the power of the body, right? Like I learned about the innate intelligence of the body, the inherent intelligence of the body, and how the body's really hardwired in a way to be healthy, to heal and be healthy. I found that captivating. And when I realized that that intelligence courses across the nervous system, and as long as that nervous system's clear, that person has the best opportunity to cope with and deal with and thrive inside of the incredibly stressful modern life. And once I learned that, I recognized that, man, I want to spend my time making sure that people are expressing that intelligence, right? And, when I found out that chiropractic focuses on removing any interference to the expression of that human potential, I was all in, Chris. I saw that and I said, okay, so of course, I've got to teach people how to live a lifestyle that would support that type of health and healing and not interfere with it. So, I got to continue to teach patients about their diet style, about their thought life, about their movement patterns, et cetera. But all of those things were in light of making sure that you're not interfering with the expression of that intelligence so that people can experience what is their natural default, which is to express health.
And it's interesting when you talk about chiropractic that way. And for you folks listening, Dr. Franson is one of the elite chiropractors in the world. And one thing that you notice is not only their adjustment amazing, but the way in which they communicate chiropractic is unparalleled. When you hear not any chiropractors that coach with Dr. Franson, but chiropractors kind of talk about chiropractic. It sounds like a salesy sort of thing. Unfortunately, it's like, oh, you got back pain here. Let me check. I can help. Oh, this is what I can do. But then when you have someone that understands and lives in the chiropractic lifestyle, talking about the innate intelligence, talking about the body was made to be healthy, it almost like the response of the audience or whoever listening is like, oh, I need that. Why isn't everybody doing this? And that's why you have a successful practice, because when you're in a consultation and you say this and somebody's like, oh, I'm just here for my back pain, but I need to get my wife in, I need to get my kid in, I need to, everybody needs to come in and understand this process. And what I found, especially, being a young chiropractor, this is my sixth year. I mean, it's crazy to say six, but I'm a young chiropractor, and going through this COVID thing, thinking about what happened in 1918 with the flu pandemic, thinking about everything that chiropractic has been through, and the message has stayed the same no matter what. Like, your body was made to be healthy. If your nervous system isn't working the way it's supposed to, everything is going to be focusing and working in a state of stress, which means that you can't adapt optimally. Eventually, it's going to affect your body. And I love that that's true no matter if you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis, if you're dealing with diabetes, if you're dealing with COVID, if you're dealing with anxiety or depression, these things are related to the healthy functioning nerve system. And I love that connection that you're able to make. I think the elite chiropractors like yourself are half a point away from connecting it to chiropractic. It's just like, oh, your hat. Oh yeah, did you know that everything everything can be connected to the way in
Yeah,
which
I mean, it goes back to, truth resonates, Chris, and that's what you're referring to. It's like,
Mm,
truth resonates. Everybody knows it when they hear it. And
yeah.
truth is almost always simple. And chiropractic has a simple and elegant solution. As human beings, we have a tendency to complicate everything. We add complexity. And
Right.
when in your life have you ever stopped and said, this is awesome, but wouldn't it be more awesome if it was more complex? It's like,
Mm,
ultimately, you always have to really simplify things, right? So to recognize that we can't possibly begin to even appreciate, never mind understand, the extraordinary intelligence of the human cell, the human body, right? So, what we can understand and appreciate is that the the human body operates our entire life. We go from 2 cells to you in 270 days. You just had a baby yesterday, right? So it's like a sperm and an egg bumped into each other. 270 days later, you had that baby. Right. I mean, what have you done in the last 270 days? Right. I mean, that's the intelligence that we're working with, which if that's not humbling, this is not the show for you. Right. So if you don't understand that, like, wow, that's extraordinary. We just literally went from a sperm and an egg in over 9 months. A viable, perfect child was produced. I mean, that's the intelligence that we're working with. That's the intelligence that got you out of bed today. It's the intelligence that's breaking down your breakfast as we have this conversation. You don't have to think about your proteins, essential fatty acids going with this. You don't have to think about any of it. Your heart is beating, your lungs are exchanging oxygen. I mean, right now, your body is functioning optimally without any level of consciousness on your behalf, right? So to recognize that silent genius is there all the time. We pay attention to our body when things hurt, when we have symptoms or body signals. And that's where that word perspective becomes into play. We have to just shift people's perspective and understanding around symptoms. It's not that symptoms don't matter and conditions don't matter and crisis doesn't matter. It matters a lot, especially to the person that's suffering or anybody that's around them, right? So what we have to recognize is that the body is intelligent, and those symptoms are a communication, right? It's a way of that intelligent body trying to communicate to you saying, man, this is something that you need to start doing or stop doing, right? So there's a stressful environment that you're putting me in that I can't adapt to, and we need to make change. Once you start recognizing that those symptoms are body signals, you stop and you ask better questions. It's like, okay, so what is my body trying to tell me right now? Right. What behavior do I need to change? Behaviors maybe that I need to change, because behavior really matters. And that's ultimately how this perspective becomes actionable. Because if you recognize that my body's designed to be healthy, and if I'm not expressing and experiencing health, it's just simply because there's something interfering with that expression of health. And the only things that cause that interference are toxicity or deficiency. I have to look at where in my lifestyle are there things that are inherently toxic to my body, or where are there things that are essential for my body to function and they're missing. And I just reconcile those things. So now you have an action plan, Chris. And now that's what people need today more than ever, because everybody feels like, man, we're at effect, right? So in this COVID catastrophe, what we've seen is that all the focus has been put on this badass virus in town. And there's no conversation around how much of a badass we actually are designed to be. Right. So I believe that it's just long overdue that we change the conversation. We shift the focus from the strength of the virus and we shift the conversation back to the strength of the host, right? The human being, because then we can actually take action. We can take back control and personal responsibility around getting better health outcomes.
Right. Yeah. And it's pretty easy to shift into, we talk about in this podcast, like, what is your selfless purpose? Like, what's this bigger picture that you're connected to that continues to drive you, especially someone with 5 businesses that are all knowing you, have systems, scalable, have other people doing it. You can step out of each and every one of them, not work another day in your life and surf every day and be totally fine. What is this bigger purpose that is connecting, all these things together, like that motivates you that keeps going?
So, my core values are probably the way to answer that. So, my wife and I share a set of core values that we run our lives and our family by. And we have faith, family, fun, and fitness as just the core 4 that really help shape and guide how we choose to run our lives, or in other words, invest our time, energy, focus, and money. And then on top of that, we have this filtration system for decision-making that helps us get really specific and make our yeses come quickly and our no's come faster, right? So in order, it's we have freedom, peace of mind, abundance, contribution, and significance. So just the first 3, freedom, peace of mind, and abundance, that order, it matters, right? So, abundance usually implies like having abundant everything you would want, right? So if you thought of material wealth, right? So for example, my freedom and my peace of mind come before that, right? So honestly, I know how to make money, right? So I could make more money, but it would be at the expense of my freedom. And the freedom, what I mean is really the definition of success for me, which is doing what you want, where you want, when you want, with whom you want, right? So to have the freedom to live the life that I love to live, and the peace of mind that comes with investing in the things that create peace of mind for me. So, as a believer, I know God is good and he's in charge. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I create an environment where I have peace of mind. And I know that my family's well taken care of. I know that I've insulated myself around the dependency of people in my businesses, et cetera. I have depth of my teams. I don't take unnecessary risks as far as business is concerned, et cetera. So I use those core values as a lens to make my decisions, to create what I would consider my selfish purpose, which is freedom, is to make sure that I have created a life and an environment where I have the freedom to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with whom I want.
Yeah. And now talking about that, you have that, yet you still continue to work on one. I don't know if you work one-on-one with docs anymore, but you still continue to, push this agenda of truth and health and purpose to all these people around you. What is it that you get out of it when you see like these successful docs, or through your health program you see these perspective shifts? Like, what was it about those um eh, dialogues and experiences with other people that rewards you for all the work that you're doing?
You might get a better idea from somebody who doesn't love it, right? So I love it. you know, I I love working with patients, caring for patients and adjusting patients. So, as a CEO of a really large wellness practice, I had 39 associate doctors, right? So, but I never took my hands off patients, right? So there were certain things that I never gave up, regardless of my quote unquote title.
Hmm.
But under the guide of being able to do what I want, where I want, where with whom I, it's like one of the things I wanted to do was to adjust people, right? To actually work with patients, because I found it energizing for all the other things. So if I didn't like doing that, I probably wouldn't have done it, even though I know that it's a highest and best use of my time, whatever, as far as serving humanity. So now with coaching, after maxing out our practices, at least I felt like at that point, I'm like, I'm going to need to work more hours, add more doctors, whatever. I was just like, listen, I'm young and strong. I think God's got another chapter for me here. Why don't I start adjusting chiropractors, and they can adjust all the people, right? So let me start coaching and training doctors. It was the ultimate move for scalability, right? So to be able to actually serve humanity, instead of seeing 1,000 people a week, I can now see 1,000,000 people a week through all of our clients, right? So I thought that was a big leap of scalability. And yes, I've got 7 or 8 other coaches that do a lot of the coaching. I love doing the coaching too. So I enjoy it. I find it energizing. I feel like I'm totally doing exactly what God hardwired me to do.
Hmm.
It's hard work, but I don't find it hard, right? I work hard at it and I love it. And it really energizes me for some of the things that I do that I maybe don't enjoy as much.
Right. It's interesting thinking about the chiropractor. I'm reading this book on, talking about business acquisitions, and all, like, I'm at that stage in my quote unquote career where I'm like, okay, so I'm not done working in my business, but I don't have to if I don't want to. I'm getting to be done working on my business, but I love it, so I'm not. And so now I'm starting to work above my business. Chiropractors are the only people that are trying to work themselves out of a job that they love so much. Like, isn't it so weird? It's like all these other businesses like grow and scale and sell so that way they don't have to do it anymore as much as they like it. But you'll always find chiropractors mourning the day when they're not in practice anymore. They're always going to be like, man, like I do miss, and we still do. We still adjust people at seminars, or our families, or all of that stuff. I just think it's such an interesting, I don't know, pattern within the chiropractic profession of people love their job so much that they want to do it so much bigger, rather than they hate their job so much that they can't wait to make their last dollar so that way they can be done with it. I just love that about chiropractors, and it energizes me so much being at seminars and talking with people like you, and I'm sure other people that are listening too. It's like, man, find yourself a job that you love so much that you want to do it bigger and better for other people, and that you want to empower other people to do it bigger and better, because what we do matters. And especially in this COVID-19 time, when people are so stinking fearful. There's never been a better time to empower people with the truth and with the perspective that, like, hey, stop looking at life and the world in a state of scarcity. Look at the world in a state of abundance. Stop looking at that 0.1 or 0.01% that you might die, and look at the 99% probability that you can continue to live your life unhindered by this virus, and you can actually do something about making those chances even better, Um,
It's absolute, man. It's just like there's never been a time like this. So people say that and it sounds like cliche, and it's like, no, wait a minute. We are literally in, like, mindfully, consciously, we're in a historic time. And what an awesome time to be a chiropractor. What an awesome time to have, a role in this and be in this profession. It's extraordinary. Like, I feel like we've been training our whole lives for this, Chris. Right? It's like, finally, there's a conversation everyone around the world is having. It's about health, and of course, there's a gap in that conversation around, what does it actually mean to be healthy, not to not get sick. There's a big difference between sick, not sick, and healthy, right? So it's time for chiropractors to step up and fill that gap and recognize there's a whole world of people right now that are wondering, geez, is there a reason we had this pandemic in the first place? It's like, it was a tinderbox situation, right? So it was just waiting for a lightning strike, and we saw this fire happen. The only reason this is a pandemic is because everybody was so sick already, right? So the virus is an opportunistic, entity that came and took advantage of dry powder. It's time for us to all step in and say, okay, so this is not going to be our last crisis. Right. Let's be ready for the next one.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Doc, thanks so much for joining me. This has been a gem of a talk for me, and I know for the people listening. If people want to hear more from you, whether they're just a mom that loves learning more about health, or a business owner that wants to learn more about scaling the business, starting other businesses, working on their practice, above their practice, where can they hear more from you?
I'm going to give you 3 places. So the first and easiest one is you can find us on Facebook, right? So The Remarkable Practice, we have a free group. So that's going to be interesting for the chiropractors out there, right? So there's The Remarkable Practice group, free group on Facebook, right? So definitely go there, because we all hang out in there. All the Remarkables, our great community is there. Very generous, smart people, and our coaches hang out in there. So if you need some help, we're there. You can follow me on Instagram. I love Instagram. I think it's great. I'm Dr. Stephen F. So just look up Dr. Stephen Franson, Stephen with a PH. So Dr. Stephen F is my handle on Instagram. And then for those of you who are CEOs, we have a podcast called The Remarkable CEO. But really, it's for anybody who's a leader, right? So if you're running a home, you're the CEO of your house, right? So you're the CEO of your life. So you're going to certainly learn life lessons here. If you enjoyed this conversation, you're certainly going to enjoy the conversation that we have on our podcast. So it's the Remarkable CEO podcast, and we'd love to have you there.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know this is a little bit different of a conversation for you, because listening to your podcast, it's all about this, and this, go do it. So this, I'm sure, like, leaving now is just like, this is who I am, this is what I have, feels kind of like, what are they going to, how is this going to, demand change? But just the way you speak even, like, demands people to question themselves, like, oh, I've been looking at my health from symptoms. Oh, I'm meant to be healthy, so don't worry. There's action for people to take. And then you listen to those podcasts and find Dr. Stephen there, and you're going to scale up your life, 10x your life, easily. So Doc, thanks so much for joining me. It's been an honor, and I can't wait for people to listen.
Such a pleasure, man. I can't wait to listen to this myself and check out the rest of your shows.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Perspective Podcast. To connect with Dr. Bowman, follow him on Instagram @Dr. Chris Bowman. Until next time, make shift happen.